Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyeama, says the country is in touch with the United Kingdom after the UK's parliament said it will impose sanctions on Nigeria's officials over the Endsars Lekki shootings. Nigeria's Foreign Affairs Minister also said it was important that a balanced picture is made available to the United Kingdom Parliament before any decision is taken. And as more cases of police brutality are laid before the judicial panels of inquiry, we now have Valentine Utulu. He's the managing partner at Legal Crest. He joins us now for this discussion. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today, Valentine. And I'd like you, Jeff, first just to make sense of what we're seeing play out here with the fallout of the Endsars campaign.
Well, looking at it, there's still a lot of confusion. The government has not owned up to the part it played in the violence that erupted on the 20th of October. The account being given by the military is changing by the day. They have given about 4 or 5 different accounts of what transpired on that day. The first thing to do is to take responsibility for what happened and to fish out who did what. That has not been done. I don't know whether the government is actually sincere in the judicial panels that they have set up. It's a wait and see, a game of wait and see, as far as I'm concerned.
All right, Femi, do you have a comment or a question for Valentine?
Lots of things flying on in my head, right, Ken? Look, obviously, I am Valentine. I totally agree with you that there is a lack of sincerity on the part of the government. What perhaps is a struggle for most people is what part of government is the most insincere to actually look. If you look at Lagos State's perspective, right, Lagos State was not there on the day of that shooting. There was no arm of government that was controlled by the state government that was there on the day of the shooting. Every single apparatus that was there was a federal institution. Now, if we play, I know we play lip service to fiscal federalism and all of that, but it is the reality, right, that somebody has to take responsibility for this. And it is indeed sad. The question for you, though, Valentine, is this. As we continue to deal with the fallout of this and what has clearly become clear signs of state failure in providing security to people, and that is almost, everywhere you go across the country, from the south to the northern part of the country. The northeast has been in turmoil for almost a decade and a half. We're beginning to see that in Kaduna, Katsina as well. The question for you is this: from a legal perspective, what do you think the government needs to do here? We've been talking economics before you joined us on the call, and it's obvious that as these levels of failure of government to secure the country worsens, the economy is going to suffer. So from an expert perspective, what really does the government have to do to fix this problem?
First of all, the government must realize that Nigeria is sitting on a powder keg of youth unemployment and poverty, and that is the greatest challenge to security in Nigeria today. If that is not dealt with on the short term and on the long term, it will erupt. The Endsars protest, the hijacking of the Endsars protest showed you just how violent the country can be as a result of hunger and unemployment. Now, if you do not provide jobs on the short term, this is what will keep recurring every day. And then, in the long term, the country is not working in the way it is. The constitution is wrong. It needs to be restructured. You need to restructure this country or the country will fail. That much is obvious to everybody. We can't keep on working a system that has failed. If you do not want state police, the truth of the matter is that you cannot police the whole of Nigeria from Abuja. It's not possible. You can't repair all the roads in Nigeria from Abuja. It's not possible. You need to devolve power from the center so that people can be able to do their own policing. And that is the basic problem Nigeria has had. And beyond that, if you do not address the issue of wealth creation, then you will have a security issue. A lot of the security issues arising from kidnapping, robbery, etc. are just people that don't have jobs, and they are just people that are hungry. If they had alternatives, perhaps they will not be prone to crime. That's what the government needs to do, and do quickly. That is my opinion.
Actually, very, very
All right,
interesting
Valentine,
stuff.
looking at suggestions on the ground on how to address some of the fallout of the campaign, we're seeing the Senate here saying they want affected states from the violence and to get about 1% of the value-added tax in Nigeria. And also we've seen the private sector alliance, that is the coalition against COVID-19, set aside about 250 billion to rebuild the police stations that were affected, and also to create jobs for the young people. What do you make of these developments?
Well, the developments are welcome, but they are just a drop in the bucket. There's a lot more that needs to be done, and it has to be strategic, and it has to be, all hands need to be on deck. The government just needs to provide the enabling environment for jobs to be created and for the private sector to grow. But beyond all that, there's also a problem that I see, because the judicial panels of inquiry are addressing the symptoms of the problem. The judicial panels of inquiry were set up because the court system did not give justice to victims of human rights abuses. Now, how do these judicial panels of inquiry address this issue for good? You need to address the issue in such a manner that the time that is taken by human rights cases in court should be abridged. It must be very short. Somebody cannot go to address a human rights issue in court and spend 8 years. It doesn't make sense. In addition to that, if you have a monetary judgment against a government agency, it's almost impossible to enforce it in our present system. Now, if you're not addressing those issues, you are just papering over the cracks. And in no time again, you will have another convulsion of violence in this society. Because when wrongs are not addressed through the normal court processes, people tend to take the laws into their hands. And that is what is happening. That's my opinion.